Yes, things is not looking so good on the space station right now, is they? We's is having a slight problem with flooding lately. It seems as if Orville has been having a wee bit problem sleeping lately. Every time he's done had a nightmare, he's done got up and floods the space station. Demons, he says. Water flushes them away. At least that's what he says. He's done had a lot of nightmares too. Well, it's got so bad that we's just had to give up on patching the drywall and ripped out the whole down top level. Everything is getting replaced. We's is getting a whole new workspace too, not to mention lots of other places. Well, once all this is done anyway, things is just, well, a bit of a mess at present. So, well, we'll do the best we can to muddle through this here preview special the best we can. Not under the best of circumstances, but if Jesus could come out the way he did after being born in a stable, then I guess we can put on a good show, even if it's, well, not under the best of circumstances. Things could be worse, after all. Preview specials is first and foremost for previews. We'll get to that. But first, I at least want to take a few moments and comment on where we's been already. No sense on seeing where we's going without first having a little reflection, right? I's got a few pictures here to help us commemorate the last year of going-ons here on the station. Here's the first picture, my favorite. It's when Mary first walked into my life. What a great soul she is. Things did sure turn out well for her, didn't they? But this was way before all that happened. This was when she was still cleaning grease out of the engines here on the station. Ah, this picture. Me and baby Curtis. He is such a cutie. I sure missed our little talk. I hope I's gonna see him again one day. I know he's alright though. He's got his mama, his papa, and Mary now. So no need worrying about him. Ah, this is a good one. Mary, when she received Christ, we's had some juice and crackers right after. This is one of my favorite memories I'll ever have, I think. This is baby Curtis when he and his mama first came back together after a long time apart. We didn't know yet that Mary was going to be his caregiver at this point, but it wasn't long before we found out. Things sure did work out well for her and for everyone. Yes, indeedy. Oh my, Elmer. I hope our host never ever sees this picture. Elmer with the gavel and the bowl on his head. I gotta hide this one in quick. Oh boy, two of a kind. Aces or deuces or dunces. I still don't know. These two hit it off almost too well. First Elmer sets fire to a swimming pool. Then Orville goes and floods the space station with septic waste. All because of this fella, the night watchman. Boy, was he mad. Mainly because he got it all over him at Ground Zero. Things didn't get any better after that. All because of what Orville did. We've had some accident that I still don't understand. Elmer's ghost, one that I didn't even believe existed up until I done saw it with my own eyes, combined with the station's computer, as well as the night watchman, and produced the overseer, one who isn't too fond of Orville, not one bit. Not that anyone is. I get the shivers just looking at the overseer. Next slide, please. Ah, little Myron. He is such a cute little kid, but he has his issues too. The Czar's still working with him, trying to figure it out. Trying to figure a lot out, actually. But they are working on figuring out how to get rid of Myron's Demons. Sebastian, I really wish Orville would get rid of that turkey. One slip of the tongue and that turkey has had it in for me ever since. Every time he sees me, he chases me around the station. Honestly. Little Agnes. A good thing she went back to her mama. There's just not enough supervision here on the station. Uncle Harold won't keep a proper eye on her. He's too busy playing with all the gizmos on the station, and all the stuff they have to offer. Not to mention the video game library we have up here. He and Elmer are forever at those video games. Seriously, you'd think Uncle Harold was a 10-year-old boy some days. Oh, Lee and Omar. Newest friends. Omar, man. I wish we could have done more for him, but it was just too late. But Lee, we're doing all we can for her. She's up here with us now. She's still kinda quiet, obviously. She misses Omar tons. But she's coming around. It will take time though. Orville is keeping her company and making her laugh. Not intentionally, but he's making her laugh. Last year sure did bring some new faces. Strange events do. But Orville, Elmer, Lee, Mary, Curtis, myself, we survived it. Yeah. Yous wanna know why? We survived it together. We realized that we's in this life together. Yes. Even Orville. Even though he's not gonna admit it most of the time. He knows he's in this with the rest of us. The only way we's gonna make it through all this is if we hang close, hang tight, and stay focused as a group. There's no other way we can endure unless we handle all the problems life throws at us as a group. No one person can handle it all on their own. We've got to take it all as one. Elmer relies on me. I'll rely on Orville. He'll rely on Elmer. It's a circle, with each person relying on another's strengths, each weakness supported. Because of that, the circle stays strong. One person goes out and acts selfishly, independently. Everyone fails. So long as everyone remembers that we're in this thing called life together, we all make it through with the love, compassion, and support that we all so desperately need to make it through life's worst times. As always, I've got a little film to show you to demonstrate this little philosophy. But first, this is a preview show, so it's about time I preview what we's going to be seeing in the upcoming year of Interlude. Hold your hats, folks. Before we get started on our first film, here's your first glimpse at Interlude, Year 3. Why do you scream?
You told me we were going to see JoJo, and then you bring me down to Mulberry Street. Mulberry Street.
I tried to tell you, Jen, something happened.
I know. Something's happened to JoJo. Oh, something's always happening to JoJo. She ate too many pickles at the church picnic. She stole the huckster's horse and wagon. And she fell in love with her French teacher when she was only 15 years old. And now, just because I go away for a couple of months, What's that?
Oh, hello, Jennifer. Jennifer, when did you get back?
Not Truesdale. And Mr. Dobson. But where's JoJo? And what are you all doing down here?
You'll see. Come on, help me carry some of this furniture downstairs.
Beautiful. It's a shame to do it just for one night.
One night? What do you mean? We're here for the duration. We have a petition we wish to give you, Your Honor. Is that right, JoJo? Your Honor? That's right, Sophie. Really throw it at him. But what if he hasn't got any honor? We'll give him some. What do you think, Pete?
Oh, yes. We want him to know Mulberry Street has manners, Sophie.
Okay. We have a petition we wish to give you, Your Honor. That's good. Very good. I only hope we... Jennifer! JoJo! I'm so glad to see you, Jen.
Same here. They said something happened to you.
It did. Behold, the new JoJo. Come and meet my friend. Sure. Girls, this is Jennifer Van Zandt, a real pal. And this is Amy Fong Lee. Hello. Sophie Nussbaum, Norma Tessati, and Larry O'Reilly. Hi. And now, I want you to meet Pete Buca.
Good.
This is Pete, Jennifer.
Hello, Pete.
Hello, Jennifer. JoJo has told me about you. We're hoping to get your help.
Help? I don't even know what's going on. JoJo, why didn't you write to me?
I didn't have no pencil. Seriously, Jen, this is wonderful.
But what? You've got me dizzy.
Why don't you bring your friend up to date? We can carry on here.
Right. Maybe I can enlist her.
Good.
Come on, Jen.
Bye, Pete. Of course, I knew you must be up to something.
I was. Something that changed my whole life.
My goodness.
You know what a rattlebrain I've always been. Anything for a laugh or an adventure. Well, I guess the laugh's on me. Because I've been having the most terrific adventure with the social order.
The social order?
Came up and hit me in the eye. See?
Hey, something did hit you.
It almost knocked me for a loop. And it all began so innocently. That Sunday after you left, I was at home, and the phone rang. It was your brother, Bill.
I tell you what it is, JoJo. I've got to conduct a meeting tonight. Yeah, young people's. I'm scared skinny. Listen, could you come around and sort of stand by? You know, ask a question or start an argument or something, so I won't fall flat on my face. Oh, it's Christian citizenship. Whatever that means. You will? Ah, there's a pal. Yeah. Well, the idea is we should try to be better citizens. I mean, make our town a better place to live. There are people who need help we could give them. Like playgrounds or helping kids get to summer camp or... Well, you know what I mean.
Swell, Bill. Let's do it. I move we do it.
Oh, well, just a minute, JoJo. We have a committee. Mary Lou, will you?
Our committee went to see Mrs. Sawyer of the Council of Churches. And, well, we learned that in our town there are many bad areas, well, such as the slum areas. In Mulberry Street, for instance, there are many children that do not have any parks or playgrounds.
Mulberry Street. They should have a shooting gallery for target practice.
There are many bad conditions. What we decided to do is bring it before you and see what you decide. Well,
Well,
what are we supposed to do?
In California, there's a group like ours got a housing law passed.
Hey, can I ask a question? Why should we do anything about Mulberry Street except go down there with a gang and clean it out?
Because we're supposed to love our neighbors, that's why, and help them.
They're not my neighbors.
We've got a neighbor, Mrs. Pennypacker. Every time I put on a hot record, she calls up my mother and complains.
What about that plow we sent to Africa?
And the clothes we gathered for church world service. That's a million miles off. We've got to do something for the unfortunate people in our hometown. I think we ought to start a definite project to do some good. I so move.
Ow! Second the motion.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Eats, how about the eats?
No, just a moment. Mr. Dobson, have you any questions?
Yes. I went with your committee the other day, and then I went to Mulberry Street. I wish you could have been with me. I think if you got to see the people that live there and got to know them a little, then you'd know what to do now. We have to be very careful when we're trying to help someone to make sure that our help is wanted.
If they don't like it, why don't they do something about it? They must like it.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mulberry Street is doing something about it. There's a group of young people there who are really trying to improve things for their neighborhood, for the community, for you and me as well as for themselves. I hunted up their leader, Pete Buka, and asked him to come up here and give us a steer. Will you tell us about it, Pete?
Isn't Mulberry Street where the Slaughterhouse Gang came from?
Mr. Chairman, we have a guest.
Thanks. And that's right about the Slaughterhouse Gang, except they're mostly dead or in prison now. They tried to fight the world like other kids from Mulberry Street. That's why we organized our group.
You said Ralph Barrows helped you? He used to be connected with our church.
Yes, sir. When Mr. Barrows was our minister, he helped a lot. He used to take us to summer camp. We had a boys' club and regular church services. And he knew how to make City Hall pay attention. And then he died, and they closed the church, and things got really tough.
I think the city should be required to clean up the slums. I really do.
I guess you mean all right, miss, but we don't like to be called the slums, bad as things are.
I'm sorry.
Oh, if Mulberry Street isn't a slums, what is it?
Yeah, I suppose it is at that. There's a house down there that was built for one family 50 years ago. Now there are 9 families living in it. I guess it's a slum, all right.
What kind of an organization have you?
Well, we have a little club, just a bunch of kids. We call it the Little United Nations. Right now we're trying to get the city to put in a playground. We're not having much luck.
Pete, how could these people here be of help?
I don't know, but we could use some help, all right.
I should go to Mulberry Street and get my head handed to me.
You might at that.
I want to help the people on Mulberry Street. I really do. I pity them and want to help them. What would you expect us to do?
Pity us? I wouldn't expect you to do anything.
But I thought you wanted help.
We don't need anybody to pity us or look down at us. I told you this wouldn't work.
Now, wait a minute, Pete. You young people have demonstrated over and over that you have a Christian concern for others, some at the ends of the earth. Now, all I ask is that you apply the same concern to our own community, our neighbors.
But what are we supposed to do?
I can't tell you that. All I can say is that if you really want to help, you can find plenty of things to do. Not easy, not all pleasant, but all worthwhile.
I move we appoint a committee.
Oh, another committee? I move we decide to help them.
Second the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Eats, let's have the eats.
Oh, wait. Ella Marie's going to say the benediction.
May the blessing of God be upon us and upon all our neighbors to the uttermost ends of the earth. Amen.
Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far.
Look at that JoJo Wheeler over there with that fellow Dobson brought. Boy, what the boys seen her, I'll never know.
No, I guess you wouldn't.
Looks like a foreigner to me.
Don't you realize that everybody in this country's a foreigner? Except maybe the Indians. And if you go back far enough, they're probably foreigners, too.
Really?
Sure, come on.
You must think we're a crazy bunch.
Oh, no. This is great.
They're good-hearted kids. They'll come through on this.
You bet.
Hey, come on, we've got work to do.
I think it's wonderful that you're doing these things for your neighborhood.
It isn't like that. We do what we can. It isn't much.
I'll bet it really is. I'm terribly anxious to have our group help. In fact, I've practically decided to pitch in myself, whether they do or not.
Doing what?
All kinds of things. I could teach folk dancing.
Could you really?
I majored in folk dancing at Canton, Minnetonka.
How are you going to teach them folk dancing when we haven't even got a hall?
Well, we'll get one. Father's on the committee in charge of the closed-up church. I'll get a key.
And half of them wouldn't have decent shoes to wear.
Then we'll get them.
How?
I've got nearly $50 saved up myself.
I'm sorry to tell you, but the kids over there wouldn't go along with you. We don't want charity. We want what we're entitled to. That's all.
But you're not getting it. You said so yourself. Personally, I don't think you're very cooperative. What was that? The window broke.
It's JoJo.
Jojo, are you hurt?
I'm terribly hurt.
I think her face may be scratched.
Bill, run and get Dr. Cook.
Yeah.
Let me have a look at it, Jojo. Looks like a nasty cut.
Who hit me? Who hit me? Somebody threw something in the window.
Here it is. It's a stone.
Hey, listen, the cops.
There they go, some kids.
Hey, look, the cops are after them.
There you are, young lady. It was pretty close to the eye. You're very lucky.
Lucky? Why did this have to happen to me?
Jojo, Officer Nolan wants to talk to you.
We got the fellows that did it. This is the one that threw the rock. Where's the rock?
Here it is.
Look at this. You might have killed her.
We didn't mean anything.
My face is all cut. You...
Where do these guys come from?
From Mulberry Street, the whole three of them.
Officer, I know these boys. I would be responsible for them. If you let me take them home, I'll... You'll take them home. They're going to be locked up. Who are you, anyhow? Pete Buca. Detective Bromwell knows me.
All right. You have them in children's court by 10 o'clock Tuesday. You hear? You'll appear against them, miss.
I certainly will.
What do you make of this, Pete?
I don't think they meant to hurt anybody.
I'm all cut up, and you try to make excuses for them.
They wouldn't have done it if they knew you. That they're just fighting the world, and you happen to be in the way. Don't you see? Come on.
Did you see that? The way they followed him out.
He sure can handle those guys.
I know how you feel, Jojo. They don't seem to think much of us, do they? Maybe there's a reason why. Before you do anything, why don't you go to Mulberry Street and find out what's behind all this? What Mulberry Street is really like. You did want to help them, didn't you, Jojo? Maybe this is your chance.
What did Mr. Dobson mean about my going to Mulberry Street? He reminded me that I wanted to help them, and then he said, maybe this is your chance. What did he mean by that? And then I found myself going down to Mulberry Street. I didn't quite know why. I still resented what had happened to me. But I did want to do what was right. And then, when I turned the corner, there were Pete and Mr. Dobson waiting for me. Hi.
Hello, Jojo.
Here you are. You've decided to give Mulberry Street a break, eh?
What does that mean?
A little dolled up, aren't you?
Why, no. These are old things. Is anything wrong?
It might be all right. Come on.
So there I was on Mulberry Street. I was thrilled. I was actually slumming. Why, I could reach out my hand and touch people who might be anything. A girl who looked at me strangely. I wondered what her life might be. And there were some boys who looked so hard, and yet they had something, like Alan Ladd or John Garfield.
It'd be a good idea to mind your own business.
And then I realized it wasn't what I thought at all. It wasn't thrilling or anything. Not what I thought Mulberry Street would be at all. The wild stories you hear. Some of the things I saw were just plain awful. I don't think I could stand to live like that. Not ever to have a nice home or a place to play or decent clothes. I don't think Mother would have wanted me to see all the things we saw. And then I realized these children who lived there must see it all the time. It's their life, just an everyday matter to them. And then Pete led us to a little store run by a Mr. O'Banion.
How are you, Mr. O'Banion?
Ah, there you are, Pete. Glad I am to see you, lad.
Mr. O'Banion, these are some friends of mine.
Well, now.
Miss Josephine Wheeler.
Hello.
And Mr. Dobson.
Mr.
Hello.
Dobson.
I'm JoJo.
Well, are you now? Well, I'm on it.
They might give us a hand at cleaning up Mulberry Street.
Is that a fact? Let me tell you some of the wonderful things about this street. All the world meets here. Look, all the bloodstreams of the earth, all the talents of the old world, they didn't leave them behind. Oh, no. Mrs. Booty and her wonderful embroidery. Mind you, old Casper and his violin. And Nick Ferrara, he comes from a long line of stonemasons. And the Rodensons, you mind them, Pete, with their lovely feeling for color and form. This is the most wonderful street in the world.
You mean it could be, if things were fixed up so people could get a break?
Yes, it might need fixing up. It might at that, lad. Goodbye to you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That wonderful old man.
We never could have organized the little United Nations without him. Well, the Gallicos live down this way.
Who?
Nick, you know, the boy who threw the stone that hurt you.
We're not going there.
Would you like to, Jojo?
And then, there it was. The home of the boy who had done that terrible thing to me. All of a sudden, I was afraid. What would I say? What would I do?
Oh, Pete!
Hello, Lisa. Mother Gallico, these are some friends of mine. Jojo Wheeler and...
Oh, the poor young lady. We are so sorry you are hurt. We try very hard to bring up our boy Nick the right way. He is not a bad boy. But what he did is very bad.
It's not bad at all. Really, it isn't.
It's a terrible thing. Where is Nick?
I'll get him.
Che cosa c'è? Cosa vogliono qua? Cosa vanno a cercare?
Papito, this is Uncle Angelo. This is a young girl who gets hurt.
Oh, this is terrible thing. They should lock that boy up. He's a bad boy.
Oh, no, que
In the old country, boy like him should be whipped. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'll be quiet.
Hello, Nick.
Hi, Pete.
Nick, why you not tell the young lady you're sorry, the awful thing you did?
What for?
Bad boy is worth nothing.
Nick, why you not say something? You should have put on a clean shirt.
He's a bad boy. He's a gangster. He's a criminal.
Dry up.
It's all right, Nick.
What's all right?
You didn't mean to do anything bad. I forgive you.
Who asked you to forgive me?
Nick, you tell young lady you're sorry you throw stone.
What for? I wouldn't give her the satisfaction.
You'd better do it, Nick. Here, Nick. It's for you.
What is it?
$5 of my own money. I want you to have it.
Well, I don't want it.
Surely there must be something you need.
There's nothing I need.
Nick, that's no way to talk.
I don't want her old money.
È un criminale, un gangster, bad boy. L'ho detto che io c'ho sempre ragione. L'ho detto che io c'ho sempre ragione.
It would be okay to take it.
I'm not taking nothing from her or anybody like her.
Nick!
What's she doing here? Why don't she go back where she belongs?
Nick!
Oh! Don't pay any attention to him. He doesn't mean it.
That's right. The kid's just fighting the world. Don't you see? He's not a bad kid.
What's going to happen to my boy?
You said you'd forgive him, didn't you? Well...
I want to go home.
Take it easy.
I said I want to go home. I got out of there somehow. I had to. And broke away from the others. Oh, I felt so awful. So shaken. To go down there, to forgive him. Even to give him my money. And then to be treated like that. I felt as if I'd been whipped, as if I was nothing. Oh, it was unbearable. I don't know how long I'd walked. I felt I must do something. And then I decided, I'll go down and see Mr. Dobson.
Come in. Oh, it's you, Jojo. Glad to see you.
Mr. Dobson.
Sit down.
Mr. Dobson, I've decided to prosecute Nick.
Well, I suppose you have a right to.
I certainly have.
I thought you decided to forgive him.
Why, before he ever saw me, he threw a stone that nearly knocked my eye out. And when I went down there to see him and try to help him, he insulted me.
Of course, he did behave rather badly. You know, every time I've seen him, he's fighting. Always a losing battle. That family at home picking at him, his neurotic uncle, his worried mother, his gang.
But Pete's from that same neighborhood, and he's not like that. There must be something else.
Yes. I wonder why Pete has been able to rise above that environment. whereas Nick hasn't.
Nick's mean and hateful and resentful. He doesn't care about anybody or anything.
Do you suppose that Nick has been rejected and kicked around so much he doesn't really think he's anybody?
Anybody with any self-respect wouldn't do such horrible things.
Self-respect. I wonder what we could do to help him.
I think he ought to be locked up.
I wonder what Jesus would have done in Nick's case. He was always ready to help those that needed it.
That's why I went down there in the first place, to help him, and I felt so good about it.
And how do you think they felt?
What do you mean?
Do you suppose that they thought you considered yourself above them, sort of a Lady Bountiful, going there to do something for someone not quite as good as you?
Why, no.
Nick was hurt, and he hurt you in return.
Yes, he certainly did.
Did it ever occur to you that in some ways you and Nick are very much alike?
Alike? Why, he's just...
You really feel you're superior to Nick, Jojo? Look into your heart. See if you can find the answer.
I came out of there feeling just awful. I'd always thought Mr. Dobson was so nice, and here, I'd gone to him for advice and, well, sympathy, and look what I got. Really, I was just black and blue all over, and I decided I'd go and tell our gang. They'd be down at the idle hour having cokes. I knew they'd sympathize with me. And then I decided I wouldn't either. Somehow I had to work this out for myself. Was it true that I was being a Lady Bountiful, looking down on the people of Mulberry Street? And was that why they resented me? Of course, I knew I was better than Nick, that awful boy. But could I really feel I was better than the people of Mulberry Street? What about Lisa, Nick's own sister, and Pete, and that wonderful Mr. O'Banion? If I lived in Mulberry Street, would I be better than they? Would I be even as good? It made me almost ashamed of the way I felt. And then I thought of Jesus and where he came from, without even a place to lay his head, and how kind and patient he was with all those in trouble. So humble and loving that people all loved him. But what was I to do about Nick?
Where do you live? These are Mulberry Street, Your Honor. The three of them were. There were two others, but this is the one that threw it. They're all known to the police.
Why did you throw the stone?
I didn't throw it at her.
You knew it might hit somebody, didn't you?
It's a wonder you didn't kill the young lady.
You didn't care who it hit, did you?
No, sir. I mean, yes.
What's the social work report on this boy?
Well, the boy comes from an unstable family. Seems there's considerable friction there. Also has been skipping school and running around with a wild gang.
He was like a trapped animal, this boy I'd wanted to punish. Now all the punishing forces of the law were bearing on him, and I was the trigger who had set them off.
I guess you like trouble, boy. How would you like to go to a reformatory for a while?
No, sir.
Please let my boy go. He's not a bad boy.
I know this boy, Your Honor. He's a good boy at heart. But if you send him up, he might turn bad.
I have a complaint against him, signed by the injured party. Assault with a dangerous weapon. I'd like to know why I shouldn't make an example of him.
Oh, no, you mustn't. Please let him go. You must let him go.
Aren't you the complainant?
Yes, but I don't want to be. I know Nick was wrong to throw the stone, but I was wrong, too. Don't you see?
I'm afraid I don't.
Nick is responsible for what he did, but so am I. All of us are responsible for Nick because all of us are responsible for Mulberry Street and the whole community. Oh, I see it so plainly. I was blinding myself, thinking I was better, that I lived in a different world. No, we're all together. Mulberry Street runs right through our neighborhood, through our lives, through our church. The people on Mulberry Street are just as good as we are. Some are even better. Only we don't give them a fair chance. How can they be good citizens unless they're made to feel that they really count? And maybe we can feel that we count for something if we help them to feel it too.
I want to ask you something, young lady. What made you change your mind about this?
It's very simple, Judge. I'm a Christian, and I've just begun to understand what it means.
Well, if the plaintiff is not going to press action, case dismissed.
Thank you, God. Oh, I'm so happy, Nick. Nick, thank you, God. Oh, I wish I'd been there. It must have been terrific.
It was. But I didn't realize what I was letting myself in for.
What?
Work. Do you realize how much work there is to do in this world if you want to try and live as a Christian?
Pretty bad, huh?
Bad? Perfectly wonderful, but still work. First, we had to get the councilman lined up. Councilman Reddy, there's a proposal to put a playground on Mulberry Street. Can we count on your support?
Oh, I'm for the kiddies. Sure, I'm always for the kiddies.
Would you mind signing this?
Sure.
But the playground was just one thing. We were out to make our town a better place to live in. We were going to clean up those slums. First, we had to get some facts about conditions in our town. How many families lived in a tenement, things like that. And we did some real work, cleaning up a lot so neighborhood kids could play ball. One job was getting the key to the old church on Mulberry Street. It was going to be put into use again. And then we went out for public support, names on petitions. We really pushed doorbells and got people signed up. Of course, we had to start with our own parents. They needed educating most of all. Oh, it wasn't easy. Not everybody was responsive. But we were getting things started. We really stirred up the town. Oh, we've learned so many things, Jen. The group at church has really come alive. It's the grandest thing I ever got into. I do hope you'll give us a hand.
You just try to keep me out.
And we just started. We've got lots of things to do after this.
Oh, here you are. I hate to interrupt this, but the kids really need you out there now, Jojo.
Wonderful words. If they only knew how I need them.
So often in life, we get to a point where we get discouraged, when nothing seems to be going right. Maybe things ain't going right at work, at home, in relationships, financially. Everything just might be dragging along without anything special truly happening to make life stand out as wonderful or important, or to make you feel wonderful or important, or like you're contributing to the world in any meaningful way. You're just going along, doing your thing, and life doesn't seem to be going anywhere of significance, neither good nor bad, hot nor cold, heaven nor hell. You're kind of just in a state of non-existence. It's at times like this that you've really got to beware, because self-confidence is low and irritability is high. It's just too easy to get down on yourself, down on others, down on life. Anyone who tries to cheer you up is an easy target for hostility too, because for whatever reason, it's hard to hear anyone talk about good times when you can't see any around you. So what can you do when the world seems so dismal, so gray? Do what you've left to you to do. Go to a place where you can be alone. Lock yourself in there for a while. Look into yourself. Look into your mind, into your heart, and search for the truth for a moment. Not the truth about anything in particular, just truth. When you've found it, then you've found something that's been lacking in you. Then you're ready to pray, because then you've met up with God, who's been with you all along. You've just been too busy with other things to notice His presence. But when you take time to sit down quietly and reflect for a spell, inside, deeply, you're more likely to see Him trying to get in touch with you. That's when you can have a heart-to-heart with Him and truly find out what's making you so sad, so blue, so irritable, so angry, so depressed, or despondent. Then you're ready to find out what His advice is about how to overcome any and all of that and get back towards a path to make you happy again. Prayer, simple prayer, is the solution to so many of this world's problems. But like so much in this world, it's overlooked because it's so simple. Another flick is coming up to demonstrate this little point. Yet again, after a look ahead towards Interlude, Year 3. Last time we barely scratched the surface. This time I's got a deeper look into where we's going this year. I think yous is going to be pleasantly surprised with what yous is about to witness. Yes, I's is.
Goodbye, my friends.
You better be careful, or you're going to end up like John the Baptist.
Go on, Elmer. Take a look.
Alright. I once heard that if a person reached a point where they simply couldn't handle anymore, all they had to do is really want to not exist, and they would just vanish.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, after the state has presented you with all of the evidence, it will be your sacred duty to determine the guilt of this youth, who willfully and wantonly drove off after striking and killing that elderly man.
But I tell you, I didn't. I didn't do it.
Order in the court. The court will not tolerate any outbursts from the defendant. You and your counsel will be given due and proper opportunity to state your defense from the witness chair. Proceed, Mr. District Attorney.
You're sure it was light enough for you to see?
Well, I'm positive.
Are you sure in your own mind that you can identify this person?
I'd never forget his face as long as I live.
Had you ever seen this person before the night of the accident?
No, but I wouldn't forget him now.
Would you say that he was in this courtroom now?
He is.
Would you be good enough to point him out to the jury?
That's the fellow who was driving the car.
Sure, it was my car, but I wasn't driving it. Somebody stole my car while I was at the movie. I tell you, this is what happened.
Court, please instruct the witness to answer the question, yes or no.
Answer the question.
Yes, it was my car.
No further questions.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there is more to this case than a mere hit-and-run charge. This is an issue which affects society as a whole, and its importance cannot be minimized. You have heard the evidence presented by the state, and you have heard and seen the defendant on the stand. Now it's up to you to weigh the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses, and to determine the guilt or innocence of the defendant.
Like it, Your Honor?
Very nice, Jeffrey. You're a great reporter.
I don't know about that. First byline I've had in months.
Well, I can't see why.
Let's face it, Your Honor. My kind of reporting doesn't usually get bylines.
With all the drama, all the heart and soul of humanity that passes through that courtroom each day?
Such as the Palmer case?
Terrible tragedy. Terrible.
Your Honor, do you have anything further to say in reference to the Palmer case?
Yes. It's time for the young people of today to accept their responsibilities, to understand that an automobile can be a lethal weapon, and to know that the courts, this court at least, will do its best to protect the public.
We'll be running an editorial on your handling of the Palmer case tomorrow, Your Honor.
Splendid.
Your Honor.
Yes, Gus?
Mrs. Palmer is here.
Well, didn't you tell her that I was busy? Didn't you tell her that I couldn't see her?
Yes, Your Honor, but she seemed so insistent that I...
Well, tell her, on second thought, Gus, ask her to come in.
Mrs. Palmer.
This woman's been trying to see me for some time. I suppose it's only right that I grant her the courtesy.
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Palmer, won't you please come in? This is Jeffrey Harmon, court reporter.
Your Honor, you've got to help my boy. I know he is innocent. I know he wasn't driving that car. He made a report...
Mrs. Palmer, do you mean to infer that your son did not have a fair trial? I have yet to have a decision reversed. There's actually no more to say until your son is brought before me for sentencing. If you'll excuse me.
But my boy's innocent. He told the truth.
Mrs. Palmer, I heard, the jury heard the evidence. They made the decision.
But they were mistaken. They accepted Mr. Banks' testimony, but he was mistaken too.
Was he?
Your Honor, thank you very much for the interview.
Mistaken, huh? Why is it that every time a boy is found guilty, the mother always thinks he's innocent?
Hello, Mrs. Palmer. What can I do for you?
I didn't come for groceries, Mr. Banks. I came to appeal to you for justice.
Oh, no, Mrs. Palmer. I was merely a witness doing my civic duty. Can I help it?
But it was so dark that night, and you said yourself that the car went by so fast. Well, if that's true, how can you be sure that the driver was my boy?
Because I... Oh, excuse me, please. Hello. Oh, hello, Mrs. Johnson. Yes, certainly. 10 pounds of russet potatoes, 1 pound of onions, 1 quart milk, half a pound of Swiss cheese, and 1 head of lettuce. Oh, yes, the trial was quite an ordeal. Yes, I know, but I was only doing my duty. Yes, there's been quite a few people into the store today. Yes, new customers, too. So I never thought I'd be that important, Mrs. Johnson. Thanks. I'll have your order delivered this afternoon. Goodbye. That phone keeps ringing all day.
Does it, Mr. Banks?
Yes, of course,
Mr. Banks, my son is only 19 years old. His entire life can be ruined by one man's mistake.
Mrs. Palmer, I know what I saw. I'm sorry, but nothing can change that.
Goodbye, Mr. Banks.
Mrs. Palmer. Mrs. Palmer, Don't be angry with me, please.
I'm not angry with you, Mr. Banks. I think I understand, but I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for God to guide you to do what's right. That's all I want is what's right. And God will hear me. I know he will.
Prayer. What good is prayer when you're already convicted? Oh, Mom, don't you see? Nothing's going to help now, nothing.
That isn't so, son.
Didn't you go to the judge a dozen times? Didn't you go see this Banks guy? Didn't they all tell you the same thing? Mom, I know you're trying, but you might as well forget it.
It's only a question of time, Roy. I know God will answer my prayers.
Mom, stop dreaming, will you? I never had a chance, not since the cops tied my car in with that hit and run. You heard the prosecutor. He convinced the jury that I reported my car stolen just to cook up some alibi.
Well, regardless of that, I won't give up.
Well, maybe you won't, but I have. Nobody cares whether I'm guilty or innocent. Except you. But they're not going to hang this on me. I didn't do it, and they're not going to send me to the pen for something I didn't do. I'm going to leave town.
No, Roy, no, you can't.
What chance have I got staying here?
Oh, Roy, if you would only have faith, son.
Mom, you go on believing in your prayers if you want to, if they make you feel better, but they're not going to help now. Nothing is.
Oh, Mr. Banks, won't you come in?
Well, I'm not sure as I should. After all, your son...
Oh, I'm sure Roy understands. Please come in.
Mrs. Palmer, I wasn't able to forget what you said to me about praying. I just couldn't forget it. I could have been mistaken, son. I don't say I was, but I could have been. I'm an old man. I don't want to hurt anybody. But I said I was sure it was you, and then everybody kept calling me.
Mr. Banks, Will you go to Roy's lawyer with us?
Well,
Well, just tell them what you've told us, that's all.
Well, I want to do what's right. But remember, Mrs. Palmer, I'm not saying your son wasn't driving the car. All I'm saying is that maybe he wasn't. All right, I'll go with you.
Come in. Yes, Gus? Well, what is it you want?
Well, Your Honor, I know it's a little out of order, but you know the Palmer case.
Yes, I just finished reading the motion for a new trial.
Well, the boy's mother's made several trips down here since the papers...
Gus Carter, this case is no different than the others. As far as I can see, there's not enough evidence to warrant the expense of a new trial. And I'll thank you to mind your own business.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, son. I bought a special dessert, something you'll like. Well, don't you want to know what... Roy, what's wrong?
I just spoke to the lawyer.
And?
Well, there's no news. It's been 10 days since we turned those papers into the judge.
Well, I know that, but that doesn't mean anything, son.
Doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. I'm going to see Judge Franklin now. You see, son, I'd rather die than quit.
Mrs. Palmer, I've told you that Judge Franklin won't even discuss the case.
He hasn't made a decision yet, has he?
No, but...
Then please, can't I see him?
All right, you wait here. Your Honor.
Yes, Gus, what is it?
Mrs. Palmer's here again.
I tell you, I don't want that woman bothering me again, and I don't care what you tell her.
I'm sorry.
My name is Jeffrey Harmon. I'm a reporter. Do you remember me? I covered your boy's trial.
Yes, I remember you, Mr. Harmon.
May I speak to you a moment?
Why, certainly.
Mrs. Palmer, please excuse my frankness, but I really believe you're wasting your time.
You don't know how wrong you are, Mr. Harmon.
But I do know Judge Franklin.
Our attorney has already submitted a motion for new trial 10 days ago. I'm not asking for anything except justice.
Justice, Mrs. Palmer? Yes. This is the courtroom where Judge Franklin dispenses justice. But to the judge, this is also a stepping stone to the Supreme Court. Mrs. Palmer, it's a rough world, plenty rough.
Being a reporter, I suppose it's pretty hard not to become cynical, isn't it?
Well, when you've seen as much as I've seen, you get to know a lot about life.
I suppose so. But I'm still convinced that the judge will grant my boy a new trial.
And who's going to make that happen?
Mr. Harmon, just because you've seen so much misery, so much of the seamy side of life, that doesn't mean that truth or honesty and loyalty and love no longer exists. Christ's love is here, all around us. Sometimes we don't see it, but that's only because we are blind. You asked me who was going to make the judge grant my boy a new trial. God will, Mr. Harmon. I've prayed, and I know God hears our prayers.
Twice in one day, Jeff? You'll miss your afternoon nap.
Yes, I know it's a conspiracy. Say, Gus, the Palmer case, do you have a copy of the trial transcript?
Sure.
Can I have it?
You gonna do another article on the boss?
Could be, something like that. Thanks, Gus. Real heavy, isn't it? Oh, say, Gus, do you believe in prayer?
Well, I don't know, Jeff. I never gave it much thought. Why?
Oh, just asking. Thanks.
I know you mustn't. You must be out of your mind.
Mom, did you see the judge?
But, Roy, you promised me you wouldn't do this.
You haven't answered my question. Mom, I can't wait here any longer. I'm leaving tonight. I'm sorry, Mom.
Supper will be ready in a few minutes. Please, at least stay and eat before you go. Oh, please, son.
Okay, Mom.
Hello, Roy. Your mother in?
What do you want?
Oh, Mr. Harmon, won't you come in, please?
Thank you.
This is Mr. Harmon. He was very kind to me today.
Going on a trip?
Won't you sit down, please?
Thank you.
Mr. Harmon's a reporter.
Yes, I know.
Roy, I didn't come here to get a story.
Then why did you come?
Roy, please.
Well, after you left the courthouse, I decided to look through the transcript. Thank you. I was looking for an angle. The only angle is putting doubt on the testimony of that one witness. But your lawyer already has that in the motion for a new trial.
And Judge Franklin's had that motion on his desk for over a week.
I've been trying to convince Roy that the judge will give him a new trial.
What do you think, Mr. Reporter?
Roy, I don't know what the judge will do. But I do know this. If you take these suitcases out of this house, you're finished. Nobody can help you, nobody. Listen to me, boy. I've been around a long time. Nobody ever solved anything by running away from it. As a matter of fact, you never really run away from anything.
Well, what would you do? Would you go to prison for something you didn't do? Sure, you can stand there and tell me off. That's easy. Who asked you to come here anyway?
Roy.
That's all right, Mrs. Palmer. He's right. Nobody did ask me.
No, it isn't all right, Mr. Harmon. I think God asked you to come. I believe that God will use you to see that Roy is declared innocent.
Listen to that. She's prayed so much she's convinced herself that God would use a newspaper reporter. How's that for a laugh?
Maybe your mother's prayers have done more good than you realize.
Roy, a prayer isn't always answered the way we expect. But when we pray, believing, then it will be answered. I believe that, son. I know that.
Well, I don't. I've got to see it work.
Seems to me like you could use a little of your mother's faith.
You mean you believe in this prayer business?
Well, if anyone had suggested it this morning, I might have laughed at him. I haven't prayed in 20 years, Mrs. Palmer. Really prayed. But there was one thing that I recall in the Bible. It's about prayer. Something Christ said about prayer. I'm afraid you're going to have to help me out on this. It's about praying and not giving up.
You must mean the one in Luke, that men ought always to pray and not to faint.
That's it. If your mother hasn't given up, why should you?
But
I came here today with an idea, something that might help. Well, that's all right. You don't have to believe me. But I'm beginning to believe, like your mother. Look, boy, leave your suitcases here for 24 hours. And give your mother and me another chance at that judge. Will you do that? Well, will you?
Okay.
As a jurist, there can be but one answer to that question. I believe in absolutely fair and impartial justice for every person who comes into a court of law. When you know the law as I do, Jeff, then you can preside over any case without fear of God or man. Without fear of God or man. Do you have that?
Yes, Your Honor, I have that.
Now, in this series of articles, I don't want you to color the facts. You know, the truth. That's all that's necessary.
Yes, Your Honor, I know.
I can stand squarely on my record.
Good. Your Honor, in connection with that, there's a person I'd like you to meet.
Oh, will there be more than one person writing it?
No, not exactly. Let's say it's a source of research. This person I want you to meet is waiting right outside.
Well, I'd be delighted. Is this supposed to be a joke? What do you mean by bringing this woman in here? You have no right in here. I will not be coerced.
You agreed to meet her.
What's her connection with you?
Research, Your Honor.
Research. I think a better term would be blackmail.
Blackmail?
Mrs. Palmer, I am no fool. This muckraker and you've made a deal, haven't you?
I've done nothing but tell the truth. How you've paid no attention to our request for a new trial, how you've refused to even talk about it. Why?
The granting of a new trial is entirely at the discretion of the presiding judge.
Your Honor, that's exactly what I think I should explain in my article.
Are you insinuating that...
You said you could stand squarely on your record. I'd say the history of the Palmer case, the complete history, that is part of that record, wouldn't you?
According to the letter of the law, I am within my right to refuse the granting of a new trial.
Legally, yes. But morally?
Mrs. Palmer, in all my years on the bench, I have never met anyone so persistent, so annoying as you.
Judge, wouldn't you say that's beside the point?
What is the point?
Whether or not you are going to grant my boy a new trial.
we have good news for you. Where's your mother's Bible?
Well, what happened?
Remember that quotation I mentioned? The one about praying?
It's in the 18th chapter of Luke.
Oh, here it is. Roy, I think you should read this.
And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray, and not to faint, saying, there was in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, avenge me of mine adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. Does this mean that Judge Franklin's giving me a new trial? Oh, Mom, is this true?
And the judge is even preparing a statement to show what a great humanitarian he is.
Then God did answer your prayers.
Son, there's more to that parable. And the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge saith. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Just remember that, son.
Oh, I will, Mom, I will.
No matter what else life has brought you, son, it has not brought you its best until it has taught you to pray. Mr. Harmon.
And spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness, and go after that which is lost, until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you, that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over 99 just persons, which need no repentance. Either what woman, having 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, does not light a candle and sweep the house, and seek diligently till she finds it? And when she hath found it, she calleth her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. Likewise I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth, and just who, when he or she repents, may receive the load. For there is no difference between the Jew or the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Any who calls upon the name of Jesus shall be saved. Then the angels of heaven shall rejoice at the lost sheep having chosen to come home. There are any number of ways to pray to God for salvation. This is but one of many. The Prayer of Penitence, Psalm 51, a psalm written by King David after he had committed adultery with Bathsheba and killed her husband Uriah. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against thee, thee only have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which thou hast broken may rejoice. Hide thy face from my sins, and blot out mine iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not the Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and hold me with thy free spirit. Then I will teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of thy righteousness. O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall spew forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise. Do good in thy good pleasure unto Zion. Build thou the walls of Jerusalem. Then shalt thou be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then shall they offer bullocks upon thine altar.
I'm going to tell you a story, boys and girls. A Bible story about a little lost sheep. Listen carefully now, because it's really a story about you. And he spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness, and go after that which is lost, until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you, that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over 99 just persons which need no repentance. There now That's the story of the lost sheep. And remember, boys and girls, when you see that sheep in the pictures, you just think of yourself, because God tells us that we've run away from him, just like that sheep ran away from his shepherd. Watch carefully now. See the shepherd way off there in the distance, leading his flock? And here he is again. What's he doing? That's right, counting his sheep. He wants to make sure they're all safe in the fold. Uh-oh, something wrong here. He's supposed to have 100 sheep, and all he has is 99. One's missing. Aha, so there he is, way off in the mountains. Seems to be having a happy time of it, so lighthearted and free. Guess he thinks he doesn't need the shepherd anymore. Just like some boys and girls. They run away from God and think they can get along without him. But wait a while. Let's see what happens to this little runaway sheep. Uh-oh, look out there, little fellow. Watch your step. Whoops, there you go. That's a nasty tumble for a little lost sheep. Say, what's this? Looks like our shepherd friend is getting ready to go somewhere. Looks like he's going out to find that little lost sheep. Well, good luck to you, shepherd. We hope you find him. My, look at that river, swollen and flooded. He'll never be able to cross that. It's so deep and cold. Why, look at that. He is crossing it. Well. And look, he made it. Say, I'm glad, aren't you? I want him to find that sheep, because if I'm not mistaken, that little lost sheep is finding things just a little bit harder than he thought they'd be. Sheep figured he was going to have a good time when he got away from the shepherd, but I guess he's changed his mind. He looks pretty bruised and battered. But don't give up, little fellow. Your shepherd's looking for you right now. You know, boys and girls, it's costing that shepherd a lot of suffering to find that little lost sheep. He must love that sheep more than anything else. Oh, now, look at that. Isn't that a shame? That's an awful price to pay for just one little sheep. But look, he won't give up. Even after all that suffering, he still keeps looking for his sheep. just look at those hands, all torn and bleeding. And all that because of you, you naughty little sheep. Just because you wanted to run away and have a good time. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Why, look here. What's this? Looks like the shepherd has found his sheep. Yes, sir, he has. He's found him and he's carrying him back to the fold. Well, that's a relief, isn't it? Now we know the little sheep is safe. And look, even heaven rejoices over that. The angels sing when lost ones are rescued. Look at him now. The little sheep is pretty bewildered, but he's happy again. But he doesn't know what we know, does he? He doesn't know how much it cost the shepherd to rescue him from those cold, dark mountains. And you know, boys and girls, there are many of you who are just like that little sheep. He ran away from his shepherd, but you've run away from God, and that's a whole lot worse. And it cost the Lord Jesus, the Good Shepherd, much more to rescue you than it cost the shepherd in our story to rescue his sheep. It cost the Lord Jesus his life that you might be saved. He is the Good Shepherd who laid down his life for the sheep. And you're just like that little lamb that ran away. You need to be found and brought back to God's sheepfold. And you know, boys and girls, as long as you keep running away from God, you'll be under his wrath. But remember, the Lord Jesus loves you even more than the shepherd loved that little lamb. And he wants to save you just now. Won't you let him be your Savior? All you have to do is say to him, "Yes, Lord Jesus."
We's just about out of time, but we's got just enough time for one more preview. But it's been my hope that this little look back, as well as look ahead, has reminded you of some of the good times in the past year, as well as piqued your interest as to where things are going over the course of the next year. We've got some nice little surprises in store for you on Interlude Year 3. This new set we's building is only the beginning. A new introduction, a new cast member in Glee, a new storyline, as well as, well, I don't want to give away too much right here now, but I will say this: if you tune in over the next 12 months, I don't think you is going to be disappointed. Let me just offer these words from the book of the prophet Jeremiah as I introduce the final clip. They seem appropriate, considering where year 3 will be heading. But I will deliver thee in that final day, saith the Lord, and thou shalt not be given into the hand of the men of whom thou art afraid. For I will surely deliver thee, and thou shalt not fall by the sword, but thy life shall be for a prey unto thee, because thou hast put thy trust in me, saith the Lord. So for myself, for Orville, for Elmer, and Lee, as well as all the others here on Space Station, or what's currently left of it. We'll see you next time for episode 1 of Interlude, Year 3. The final preview begins now.
Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Then our Lord added, Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Now look here, Orville. You're no more to blame for Kathy's choices than I am, than Lee is, than Elmer is.
I know your heart's in the right place, Orville, but I've been taking care of house and home under worse circumstances than this for a long time. I can handle things.
And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works.
Hurt her, and you won't need to wait 24 hours to get mutated.
I'd step away from the lady. Orville's not one to ask something twice when he's this angry.